So just getting settled on your back, wherever is comfortable, however is comfortable. You can have long legs or bent knees or even butterfly legs. You can let your arms splay out wide or stay a little bit closer. Give yourself a moment to let your body feel the floor. To let the ground hold you up. Give this time for yourself to arrive. Even though you're doing this practice from your home, and maybe you've been there all day or all week, there's still that element of moving around and then getting to your yoga and then being able to shed a little bit of the rest of the day. As you get here, tuning in, taking a few breaths. Let yourself be. And then just taking a little inventory of your physical space, of your body. Scanning from your head all the way down towards your toes. Just one little piece at a time. Take a little bit of time to notice. Are there any areas that could relax just a little bit more? Are there any areas that are carrying some stiffness or that feel a little achy? Are there any areas that are really relaxed, that feel open, that feel soft, or that feel strong? And then shifting your attention to your breath and feeling how that moves in your body. Sensing the movement of air through your nose. Imagine how it moves through your lungs, filling up, emptying out. And feel how it expands in the rest of your body. Filling up into the belly, spreading out through the waist, through the sides of your body, through the rib cage, up into the chest. And every exhale coming out of all that space, feeling the body compress in as the breath goes out. And now, after having arrived and maybe feeling a little bit clearer and taking a little bit of that inventory, noticing where you're at, let's set an intention, making a personal intention just for yourself, something you'd like to bring in, something you'd like to feel, something you'd like to be, something you'd like to have. or even something you already have, but you want to appreciate right now. Knowing that intention can really be absolutely anything. It can be as simple as just being present and breathing. I could carry a little bit more with it. Maybe it's the intention to feel steady, to feel grounded, to feel light, to feel love. Whatever that intention is, start to say it to yourself as you inhale. Repeat it as you exhale. Integrating that thought to your breath. For now, we'll let that intention just kind of absorb into your space while we move on. Let's start in the body, starting with some cats and cows on your back. So you can have your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor. And we'll begin that movement, really initiating it from the tailbone, so that when you inhale, the tailbone points to the floor. You get that curve of the low back expanding. And then as you exhale, try to flatten that curve to the ground. As close to the earth as you can get it, or all the way down. And just rolling through the big, full, long breath in, coming back to the arch. And those slow, long exhales. Coming back into that flat press. And just taking that a few more rounds, starting to give a little bit of warmth to this area of the back. And we're going to continue that movement, but just shift it a little bit to the right. So you're just going parallel to your spine, maybe an inch or so, leaning to that right side. And continue to do the arch and the flatten, continuing to move with the breath, just getting a little different spot. We'll zigzag our way back through the center and eventually over to the left side. And again, not too far over, just an inch or so to the left of the spine, rolling up and down those vertebrae. And then again towards the center. And then on center, let's take the knees in towards the belly. Bring the arms to the legs or the hands to your knees. Give yourself a little squeeze, a little hug. And begin to guide your knees around in a circle. Bringing your awareness back down into that space where we had been working with the cat-cow. And let that movement press around that space. Against the ground, through the back. And we'll go both directions. At some point, turn it around. We'll continue with just the left leg. So bring the right leg to the floor. It can go flat or it can stay bent. But bring the left knee around and just a few more circles. Now it's a little less for the back, a little more for the hip. We'll take that circle in both directions as well. And then hanging on to that left knee with your right hand, we'll guide it over to the right. And it could go just a little ways across center, or you can start to roll it into more of a twist, where your left arm comes out to the ground. However that needs to be right now. At the beginning of a practice, sometimes things are really stiff, really tight. Don't feel like you have to plow right into anything. Just give it a breath. Let's take it apart and we'll go to the other side. So left leg can come down, right leg comes in. Let's start with those circles, guiding around the right knee, stirring around the right hip. And again, both directions, taking it around, second way. And then we're bringing that right knee towards the left. So you can use your left hand to bring it over. Again, just a little ways. We'll usually start to get that outer edge of your thigh down to the hip or the glutes. Going a little further is going to start to bring the back into play, into that twist. Again, just taking that where you can be, where you can breathe. And then we can release it. From here, we'll find our way on up and over to sit. So you can roll up or you can roll over and then come up. But help your way to sitting. Once you get there, coming up to a nice tall spine, finding that center space, settling into it. And even here, this little arriving, coming to this new spot. This is where we'll come back to the intention that you set for yourself. And we'll stick with it right in your own space first, and we'll start to spread it out into the rest of the world. So sharing that positive intention. And I like to visualize it as this light. So starting to see that thought and feel that thought as light coming into the body. And can move with your breath. The inhale, bringing that light in, maybe seeing it run down your spine. The exhale starts to spread through the body, out into the hands, the feet, out to across the surface of your skin. It might just take a few breaths to really start to feel that image of light in your body and that intention in your body. And then from here, we'll start to spread it out. And even though that intention may have started very personal, just to you, trust that there's at least one other person that could use it, but probably millions that could really appreciate that same positive thought. So we'll start to spread it out, starting by just filling the room where you are. Feel that light expand. Another breath, and it can fill your whole home, whatever building you might be in. And then breath by breath, it really starts to go. So as it spreads outside of your home, really coming out into the street and the neighborhood, the countryside. See that light covering the county and the state. Let it continue to go, spreading across the region, across the country, across the continent, tapping into places you've been, people that you know, share that positive thoughts. And it continues to go, see it covering the oceans, see it coming around the whole world, so that the globe is surrounded in that light. Like it's another layer of the atmosphere. And maybe even a few layers here as we're all having our positive thoughts together. And even connecting to that idea that you are within that layer as well. Feeling that light covering you as well as everything else. And we'll seal it in with a breath together. Take a nice deep breath in. And let that breath out. And then bringing all of your intention back inwards, seeing your body sitting where you are, feeling your body again. Let's bring the hands together at the heart. And once again, a breath together, deep breath in and out. All right, from here, let's come on to all fours. We'll set up for some regular cats and cows. So initially, we did that cat-cow on the back. As you get to all fours, usually a little more range of motion, a little more freedom for the spine to move. So when you're in that arch, now it's the arch where the belly comes down and the chest can lift, the chin can lift, a little more coming up the spine. And that rounded back cat, really letting it curl up into that space, let your head and your tailbone drop down into that space. And then just at your own pace, with your own breath, we often have that inhale for cow and our exhale for cat. Feel free to let that become a little bit more fluid and spacious, trying to release some of the control of it and just let your body move. And then arriving back at the cat, surrounded back, sinking your head down between your arms, pause there, and give your head a little nod between your arms, just turning your chin left and right, or maybe a little side to side. And then take a little bit of that side to side movement into the rest of the body. So you're kind of squeezing one shoulder towards its hip, and then the other, and feeling the opposite side stretch itself out along the edges of your back. Moving your way back through to center, we'll find our way into a child's pose. So you can bring your big toes together, slide your hips back, let your knees find a spot, wide or close, and let your head find a spot on the ground, on your hands, on a block, however you can rest your head. And once again, we arrive. So coming into your child's pose, even after just a few of these little movements, seeing if there's some engagement in the body that might be, maybe it's ready for more movement. But can there also be this ability to sink in, to take this little break, to let the body be held in child's pose. Give yourself another deep breath here. Let go of that breath. And then find your way back up through to all fours. And let's take a little bit of a balance here. So we'll start with the right leg back behind you and your left arm out in front of you, opposite limbs. You can always have your back toes on the ground for more stability. or lifted for a little bit more work, a little more strength building. Just being mindful of that low back space, trying not to let it sway down, trying not to let your body melt, and also trying not to agitate it. So as we strengthen it, we're not aggravating anything. Let's just give it another deep breath in that balance. And then you can lower your left hand to the ground. We'll take your right foot up and over to the left. So cross it over to the other side of your mat and see about looking towards the left. So you're essentially in a side bend from that whole right side. We're going to step that right leg back to where it started, both knees on the ground, just a little bit of cat-cow. And then we will come back to center and start again for the second side. So the left leg steps back and the right arm comes forward. Again, reaching front to back, and that back leg lifted or lowered, but it's active. So you're pushing back to your heel. You're strong from the hip all the way to the heel, as well as that strength coming through the center of the upper body and all the way out to your arm. Breathe. We'll have that right hand back at the floor and pick up the left foot and bring it over to the right. So you can land it over on the right side and look over towards the right. And just pause there for a few breaths. And again, we'll be bringing it back through to all fours. A little bit more of that cat-cow. And once again, our child's pose. You can ease back again, bring your toes towards each other, bring your hips towards your heels, and release. Let's add a little side bend within the child's pose. So if you've got your arms long, you can then walk them over to the right. So the left side's getting a little longer. And if your head doesn't reach as far down over here, you might just rest it on your arm. So we start that with a stretch, and maybe a more active stretch, but then see if you can give it that child's pose feel again. Can you let your body relax? Take some of the reach out. Stay for another breath. Let that breath fill the left side of the body. It's just a little bit longer and wider than the right side at the moment. We'll be bringing it around to the other side. Ease it over, walk your hands to the left, open up the right side. Again, you can start with that stretch, reach it over. And as you're ready, letting it become a little more passive, melt into it. Again, we'll stay for a breath and let it be big and spacious, open. And we'll work our way back through the center. And from center all the way down onto the ground, onto your belly. So you can start to lay down. Once you get to the floor, you can just make a little pillow for your head. Let your head rest one direction or the other. Take a few moments to let your body feel the ground, even closer than child's pose. So we got the whole body just laid out long. Feeling the breath move through your belly, through your chest, feel it against the ground. And if one side of your head is resting, you can go ahead and switch it to the other side. Continue to release into this pose. Finding your way towards center with your chin or your forehead, and bringing your hands down at your sides next to you. So we're setting up like a cobra pose where your fingertips are pointing forward, your hands are at the sides of your chest. Your elbows are pointing back, your toes are pointing back. We're gonna stay quite low. So you'll lift your chest and chin like cobra, but only coming up as far as your body lifts you without the work of your hands. So your hands are just like placeholders for now. So we're just going to lift and lower. You can go with your breath. So feel free to use the inhale to rise and the exhale to come back down. And just checking in that you're using minimal effort. Feels like the body's moving as a wave, bobbing up and down slowly. And we're going to see about taking this a little bit side to side. So that you would look over to the right and maybe push just a little more into the right palm as you peek up to the side. And then coming back down and over to the other side. Coming right through, peeking over to the left, and releasing again. And so everyone's back is just going to be a little different in how they react to this. If you've got a lot of mobility in the spine, you might be able to start lifting a little higher to the side that you're looking before coming back down. And for the rest of us, we might want to stay just a little bit lower. Maybe it's really just this turn of the head, side to side. Just checking in, what do you feel in the spine? What do you feel in the back? Make sure to protect areas that might feel a little vulnerable. Next time that you go to the left, can be the last time. After that, releasing back to center, and we'll be moving into another child's pose. So in your own time, lifting and lengthening back. Another child's pose, coming back to that grounding, that centering, and also a really good pose to release some compression from the back. So a lot of times doing that back work from the belly will cause a little bit of tension in the spine. But it's also really good for just strengthening the spine. So we don't want to completely avoid it, but we also want to really nurture our back when we're done. So let's take it for another breath or two, really just soaking into your child pose. And then as you're ready, we'll find our way up to sit. So you can help yourself up, and you can sit any way that's comfortable at this point, whether that's long legs or folded legs or kneeling legs. But find your way back upright. Let's just give a little bit of softening around the wrists. So I like to take the hands around each other, You could also take them separate from each other, but feel your wrists, feel your hands, maybe even watch your hands. Just give them a little bit of care, a little bit of appreciation, as they do so much. I'll turn them around to the second direction. And then let's take the hands up near your shoulders and guide the elbows around in some big sweeping circles. So it's getting a little bit more into that shoulder space. And again, we'll go both directions, turn it around. From here, let's start to move into a twist, and we're going to do kind of a looser twist where we've got both feet over to your left, and I'm going to mirror you, so your feet come over to your left, and I call it a zigzag seat, but your legs are just kind of going the same direction as each other. And then your arms can come over to your right, bringing your hands across and using your hands to kind of lead your chest over and across to the right. Your left hip will come up and around with you. And your gaze can go around with you. Look over to your right. And we'll just stay in this kind of a looser, more open spiral, but start to shift a little bit with your head. So beginning by looking to the right and just see what you can see over there. What is in the rightmost corner of your gaze? And then slowly begin to sink your gaze and your chin. And bringing your chin down and across towards your collar, towards the center of your chest. Maybe a little bit past center. And then we're just bringing it back across. Take your chin over to the right. And once again, see what's over there. See what is the furthest thing to the right. Is that first thing that you saw earlier still within your gaze? Can you see even further than that little landmark? Let's take another breath. We're just going to start to unwind part way. So you're going to come over to face the right knee and come down on top of it. So that could just be kind of holding your hands, your arms up underneath you, or it could be coming down onto a block or a cushion. If you've got something else around, you can bring your elbows down to hold you up, or maybe you can easily get right to the floor. You can go ahead and lower your arms and lower your head. So the head could be on your hands or on a block, or it can just kind of hover there. See about sinking in. Just letting your body soak in this shape a little bit, crumpled up a little bit on top of itself. And where can you find room for your breath? From here, we'll start to lift yourself back up. And before we do the other side, let's take your legs to butterfly legs. So the soles of the feet will come to the middle. The knees are out wide, And just taking a nice tall centered butterfly. So we're just sitting up through the middle and maybe being able to observe some little differences left and right within your body. So you might close your eyes and check in from doing that one twist and that one little fold over your right leg. From here, we'll start to go into our twist the other direction. So you can turn your right leg over and set up those zigzag legs again. And then our arms will come around to your left this time. Just kind of leading your body with you, bringing your hip along with you, bringing your gaze along with you. Look all the way over to the left. See what's in the leftmost spot. Just get a little reading on it. And then we'll start to shift our chin, our head. So you can begin to look down, you can bring your chin down. Letting that roll through your neck. And know that sometimes the neck doesn't want to roll, you don't have to force it. Just invite it to find a little movement. We'll be bringing it back across again. Slowly shifting it off to the left. Looking left. Is that first thing that you saw still there? Can you see just a little bit further? And then let's start to bring yourself forward just enough to face the left leg and that knee. And we'll fold over that leg. So again, you can come right to the ground, or you can hold yourself up on that block or a cushion, or you can even just keep yourself a little more elevated, but let your head sink down. Just letting your body connect to this pose, to this shape, in a way where it's sinking, softening, releasing. Staying another breath here. And then as you're ready, starting to bring yourself back up. Coming back up to center and centering your legs once again in that butterfly position. Once you're back at the middle, again, taking that time to align your spine, to find that posture. This time we'll be holding that butterfly, so you can come down, fold your body over your legs. So here's another spot. You could use that block. You might let your hands rest on it in front of you. You could even bring it inside your legs, and maybe if that's where your elbows go. Lots of ways to find a pose like this, to make it yours. Give it a few more breaths here. Really big, long breaths. Maybe even feel like your back is expanding with that inhale. Maybe feeling it lift a little bit. Whereas the exhale is sinking, melting even further, maybe coming a little bit deeper into that fold. So as you're ready, we'll bring it on up. Help yourself back up tall. Let's come down onto the back, and then we'll be using the block from here, so you can come down first, but have that block within reach. And before we use the block, let's just come into a little bit more of that cow spine, and we're going to build it into some bridges, some moving, flowing bridges. So just make sure that you're lined up, your neck and head are going to stay in position so you're not turning side to side. Arms down at your sides, and your feet are about hip distance apart, grounding into your feet. And again, we'll just start really low on the floor with cat-cow. So the tailbone pressing down, the arched spine, that's the inhale. And then the exhale towards the flat back, pressing as much of the small of your back to the ground as you can. And what we'll do is follow the exhale through the flat back into more of a bridge. So as you breathe through again, when you go through that exhale, see about lifting the hips a little bit at the end. And then bring it back down with the inhale. Let your spine curl all the way back into that arch. Again, the exhale coming towards that flat back, leading upwards with the tailbone, the hips follow, and then part of your spine continuing to lift before coming back down. So just a little bit more each time, connecting into all those vertebrae being able to move distinctly from each other, peeling away from the floor, imprinting back down to the floor. So you might take one more go of that moving bridge, just coming as high or low as feels right today. When you get to the ground again, let's find that block and move into a supported bridge. So you can come up and set that block underneath you at any of its three heights, three different levels. We're just setting it behind the pelvis, the sacrum is sitting right on the block. And again, just making sure you're feeling centered through your head, your neck. Maybe getting a little more space for the neck. You can nudge your shoulders down the mat. Some days I think it feels nice to let the palms face up. And you just kind of take a more open stance. You're releasing all that effort that we use to move in and out of bridge. Let the block do the work here. Let your body soak it in. We continue to stay in a little bit longer pose. What else can release? Sometimes it's not all in the body. Notice if your mind has started to wander, where did it go? And release those thoughts for now. Bring yourself back to this idea of relaxing. Right, from here, we're going to shift into legs up. So you just need the block on the lowest height if it isn't already there. And you might have to move where it is a little bit so that it's comfortable to lift your legs up towards the ceiling. And we're usually just on just a little ridge of that block. And if the block's not feeling comfortable at all, sometimes just like a rolled up blanket or a pillow can also do the trick. But you want to let your legs feel light, let them feel almost weightless up above you. Give them a good little stretch up through the heels, to the calves, and down to the legs. Feel free to move through your toes, through your ankles. We're just going to move through a little sequence of the hips. Feel free to let this be intuitive. So if you want to stay somewhere a little longer or skip any part, or even just come back to bridge. Bridge is always just a nice place to stay. You can take all of this as just optional. Starting with legs coming apart into a straddle, so coming towards a big V shape in the legs. If you've got room, and you might have to move a little bit if you're in a narrow spot. You've gone into this position, letting that lengthen a little more to the inner legs. From here, you might start to bend at the knees, coming into more of a frog on your back on a block. So the knees are bent out wide and the feet come down to about the height of your knees, and they're just hovering out away from you. Envisioning that kind of frog-like shape in your body. Usually just puts a little different emphasis on that hip space. Notice where it goes. Continuing to shift, we'll draw the knees in the direction of your shoulders, going towards like a happy baby. So the knees are near the armpits, and then the feet come towards the ceiling. So still that big bend of the knee. You can just kind of let your body sit on itself a little bit, or you can reach up and catch your feet for that bind, or even just hold behind the legs, like a little hug behind the thighs. And then the butterfly, like a held butterfly. So you can guide your feet towards each other. You might be able to hold them still with your hands, and then your knees coming further apart. And you might be able to guide the legs with your elbows. And if you can't quite find your feet, feel free to just kind of support your legs with your hands out at the sides. And if you've got that butterfly feet in your hands, you might just give it another little squeeze. We'll start to guide the knees towards each other, and then release your feet to the floor. Just easy does it. Sometimes the back doesn't like that big movement back towards bridge. But we'll come into a full bridge. So once your feet are grounded, we'll take that block out of the way, open up into that highest form of your bridge, and then ease it on down. Once you get to the floor, check in. What do you need here? A little more cat-cow tilts, a little bit of windshield wiper legs side to side. And then once again, we're going to take these little twists that we did at the very beginning. So let's start with your right leg this time. Bring your right knee in, let your left leg out. We'll guide your knee over to the left. Your right arm can reach up to your side. And again, we're just letting it go as far as is comfortable. Maybe you've got a little more range of motion here after doing this practice. Coming into whatever kind of twist that looks like for you. And then we're just gonna bring it around into the other side. So right leg can come down, left leg comes in. And then taking your knee over and across to the right. And then arriving back at center. Let's take a full body stretch. Long arms, long legs, reach front to back. Take up some space. And then relax that stretch right into that spot. Let your body unwind. Moving into our final relaxation from here, make yourself comfortable. Use whatever you need to get comfortable. Let your arms come down to your sides. You might let your legs splay out a little bit wider. And once again, we are arriving, so give yourself that time to get here. To release the rest of the practice. To release the effort from your body. And any engagement from your mind, that mental world might still be churning around. Can you let it ease up? Can you give yourself a little bit of space? Some days it's really hard to find that space. On those days, you might try to stay with your breath. Be with it through its entirety. Feel the inhale and the exhale. In those days, we often need just a little more care. Allow your inhale to be filled with patience. Your exhale to be filled with kindness. Allow these breaths to help you get towards that relaxed spot. Coming into a place that feels restful, that feels peaceful. before needing to do anything else. Just feel your breath again. Feel the breath moving the body. And begin to invite any other movement to the body. A wiggle of the toes, of the fingers, a nod of your head side to side. Maybe a little bigger, broader movement to full stretch out in any direction. And start to gather in. You can begin to help your knees all the way in. And bring them towards your belly. Bring your arms to your legs. Give yourself a squeeze. And we'll find our way over onto either side. Just curled up there for a moment. And then from there all the way up to sit. As you come to sitting, we're arriving here at the end of our practice and into the rest of the day. Letting there be a bit of a threshold to move through, bringing some of that quiet space from inside with you. And bringing your intention with you. Begin to breathe into that intention once again. And we'll close here with 3 breaths together. Bring your hands together at your heart. We'll take a deep inhale. And a slow exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Namaste.